Okay, Robert, you still there?
I am, bud. Here.
Hey, Robert, off there you're in Arizona now, or where?
Right now I'm in San Antonio about to teach a class.
San Antonio. Okay, so Robert, you want to tell us about your background in terms of how you came to Buteyko? I know you've done a lot of other wonderful things, including some work with the woman whose name I'm blocking on now that I'm going to end up having to write about, that you mentioned when Dr. Pete mentioned her. So,
Maywan Ho.
Yes. So go ahead, Robert, and give us a little of your background and then a few of your stories.
I had cough variant asthma from the time I was about 13, and never really was diagnosed with that until I took a Buteyko class. But what inspired me to take the class was going to a free lecture about it right after my daughter, who is a severe asthmatic, had collapsed a lung from her asthma and passed out, and the medics had to break the door down to get her to the hospital. And it was pretty scary and life-threatening. And since she's done the Buteyko work, she has not had one asthma attack, and she's very settled and relaxed in her breathing and confident that she's not going to have another one. So that was what really inspired me, the health of my own children.
Okay, and then I know you had a couple of examples that you wanted to share with us.
Well, I really like working with children, Bud, and a couple of things that I wanted to talk about. One was that I worked with a young 10-year-old in San Diego. You know, in San Diego they have a lot of fires, and she had a really difficult time just even going out of her house because of the smoke. And her mother, who was a nurse, brought her to Tucson to learn from me, and it was an interesting dynamic because after a while the daughter didn't want her mother to tell her when to do their exercises. She would do them on her own without being instructed. And I got to say that right now she is a star on a water polo team and no longer has asthma and no longer takes any of her medication.
Great. Wonderful.
It was nice that she was, you know, it happens often for me with children is that parents want them to do so many things that they get filled with so much activity that they really don't have any downtime. So their breathing is working so fast all the time because of all their activity that they don't get a chance to really do what kids when I grew up did, which is have a lot of free time to play.
Right. And an awful lot of children who are diagnosed with asthma who really don't have asthma, though what they have is hypocapnia. And what happens with that is that any time a youngster or even an adult who has that tries to exercise, that just means low levels of carbon dioxide, but not asthma. When they try to exercise, they begin to have serious breathing problems. So it's a real problem. Obviously, you want children to be able to exercise. So physicians and respiratory physicians themselves don't know what to do because they know if they give the child typically albuterol and tell them to take a couple of puffs before they exercise and a couple of puffs afterwards, what they're going to do is create a real asthmatic. And so this is the solution. That is that for these children, and I am going to be involved hopefully soon because they lost their grant with a major hospital in the New York area studying exactly that, where I'll be working with children who are hypocapnic and are not diagnosed as asthma. And that hospital has said that in their estimation, somewhat near 70% of children who are called asthmatic are actually hypocapnia. Now, why that occurs, there's a lot of reasons for it, but it's serious because the child can't really exercise.
Right. I worked with 3 young girls from a high school in Tucson, Arizona, whose parents brought them in for just that reason. At the end of their track, as they're running, they were always on the ground, just couldn't catch their breathing, couldn't catch their breath.
Mm-hmm.
And I worked with the 3 of them to teach them how to do their track, actually breathing through their nose while they ran, and also learning how to really restore their breathing at the end of their exercising rather than gasping for his breath, how to warm down by breathing through your nose and slowing your breathing down. So they no longer had that problem and actually became very prominent on their team and began to win a lot more races that they weren't winning before.
Yes, well, as you know, we've worked with some elite athletes and gotten them to go through the roof. I mean, one of the first early ones back in New Zealand was the leader of the all-black team who had serious asthma and he just couldn't really play much anymore. And Russell and Jennifer worked with him, and then, boom, he was back out there as good as ever. I think it was Russell and Jennifer worked with him.
Yes, I had a young little 8-year-old boy who was a basketball player, and he was beaten up at school. And as a result, he had some post-traumatic stress, and he couldn't play basketball, and he was afraid to go to school. And he did the Buteyko Method, and within 2 weeks, he learned how to, settle his breathing down so he wasn't always in fight or flight around the event. and then once again became the star of his basketball team.
Yes, and if you go to my website, ButeykoNYC.com, that's ButeykoNYC.com, you'll see on my home page, at the bottom, near the bottom of the page, a video of Jennifer Stark talking about her family, how they came to it, and working with their youngster, Robert, who was an elite runner but had to end up stop running as a youngster. He was, I think, 10 or 11 years old. He couldn't run anymore because his asthma was so bad. They ended up having to move their house, and it didn't help. And then they found out about Buteyko, and in less than a week, he was already improving enormously and very shortly was back out there running again. So
children are really resilient. I've found that one of the reasons I like working with them is they really learn the method fast. They're concerned with their own health. They want to be able to do what they can do, and they just adapt to it really quickly and improve really quickly. And I really enjoy working with them.
Absolutely. I've been working in the schools. I retired from the schools 2 years ago. I was a social worker in the New York City Board of Education for 25 years. And I had occasion many times to help children stop their asthma attack, try to work with their parents, and sometimes the parents would work with me and it helped them to end their asthma as well. And unfortunately, a lot of children are dying from asthma because they don't know how to use the medications adequately and they don't know about this approach, and they're stuck with using large amounts of medication on a regular basis, which is a big problem, as I'm sure you're aware.
Yeah, it's really sad when there's such a good alternative available for just kind of a little bit of effort. You can really use your own breathing to heal your breathing.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Robert. Do you have one more story you wanted to tell, or because I know you've got a class?
I grew up in New York City, Bud, and when I was, on Saturday and Sunday, my parents grew up in the 50s. They would say, go to the Central Park and don't come home until it's dark. And, we weren't worried about kidnapping. I had this one little girl who was talking to me, I don't have any free time. And because of that, she was really suffering from asthmatic coughing that just couldn't catch her breath. And I asked her, I said to her, with her mother in the room, I said, if you could do anything you wanted to do, if it was no money was the issue, your age wasn't the issue, how would you spend your free time? She said, I would just sit and read. I said, isn't that great? I said, so I made an agreement with the mother and the daughter from Friday afternoon when she came up from school to Monday morning when she goes to school. She was on her own. She could make her own food. There'd be food for her. She could read and come and go as she pleased. And so we signed that contract, and a week later she came back. It turned out that, she really wanted to spend time with her family. Even when she had the free choice, she was much better with it. And within 2 weeks, her coughing stopped. She was able to do the Buteyko because she had free time. And all that anxiety about not having any free time just disappeared, and she became empowered in her own life. It was just a wonderful, wonderful example of how Buteyko works.
That's wonderful. I remember one of the early cases that I was involved with was a youngster who had such serious asthma and eczema. He was on 7 different medications, hospitalized multiple times a year, missing tons of school, obviously. He was nebulized 3 times a day. This youngster was really on his way out. And the mother found out about the program, and she wanted to do it. Her husband said, if you do that, I'm going to divorce you. The doctor said, I'm going to put you in jail. She went ahead anyways, and that youngster today is in college someplace. I haven't been in touch with him it's been over 10 years, and actually almost 15 years. But shortly after that, he went on to become one of the best athletes in his school, never missed a day of school, no medication, never had asthma again. So that's how this stuff works, folks. 212-209-2950. Thank you very much for coming on with me, Robert, and I look forward to being on the line with you in regard to our organization, which I'm so excited about.
All right, bud, thank you, and good luck on the show.
Thank you.